Good evening. Welcome back to the Celtic Way. Evening briefing, call it what you like. Celtic 3, Hearts 0, the reaction briefing. Kyogo at the double as Magic match spellbinds a raucous Celtic Park. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the X or Twitter handle, and I'm delighted to be joined by Ryan McGinley at the Ryan McGinley, who's somewhere outside Celtic Park after taking that in. Ryan, did you enjoy that? As enjoyable things go, was that good?
That was immense. That was quite immense. Terrible start, I've got to say. Celtic did not start that game well at all, yet they found themselves in front. Before we go and talk about how good Celtic were on the attack, and just so we don't forget, there is a save that Joe Hart made at the 1-0 mark that could have changed the game completely had it not gone in. A phenomenal save from a player that's coming towards the end of his career, but he's playing some of the best stuff of his Celtic career. I just thought Celtic to a man today get better and better and better as the game went on. I think that was the 90-minute performance that Brendan Rodgers has been looking for. Yes, he didn't start it well for the first, maybe it was an 85-minute performance. But as soon as they got into their groove, that was the Brendan Rodgers Celtic that we've been waiting to see. Players running off the ball, wingers causing problems, James Forrest looking like he's 10 years younger, Matt O'Reilly looking as if he's got the world at his feet, Rio Hatate geeing up the crowd with every single corner that he was taking. He was telling the crowd to get louder and louder. Kyogo at his deadly best, Cameron Carter-Vickers at his imperious best at the back, Liam Scales keeping it calm. Could talk about every single player and how they were they stuck to their task today, and 3-0 didn't flatter them at all. It could have been and should have been a lot more.
It was the consummate professional and team performance today, Ryan. Spoke about it all week. Celtic needed that match. The manager needed that match. The players needed that match. The fans needed that match, and they loved it. And that's, in my opinion, what roaring, free-scoring, never boring football is all about. It's winning football, Ryan. That's what it is. Players were relaxed and focused on the job at hand, weren't they? And I believe the Celtic players played that game today the way the manager has spoken about that game ever since they beat Dundee last week. And
absolutely,
I felt that it was a big game today for Celtic, and I think a lot of lingering doubts have been swept away. They answered some questions you were talking about. There's now a bit of a love-in with the manager now. You'd certainly like to think so, but I think he keeps telling people they're in a good place. They are in a good place, and that's why I bang on about Brendan Rodgers being an elite level manager. I did tell people that the best asset Celtic had in this title run-in was their manager. He's cool, he's calm, he's collected, he's composed, but like Matt O'Reilly today, because he's clearly one of his big game players on the pitch. But every big game player stepped up today. In fact, the whole team stepped up today and gave a performance where it's, he was talking about it, it's like 80% mental now, didn't he? And I think Celtic totally get it. And you're right to mention Joe Hart save, it's brilliant. He's on a personal crusade, I think, to win this double, which is great.
The whole team is.
Yeah, and it's just rubbing off on each other. They've put themselves in a wonderful position now. And I never doubted them. Plenty of people did. But I didn't doubt this group of players, and I didn't doubt the manager. And today was just... And we got it right, Ryan. 3-0, we said. We got the start of the 11 right. And we got the prediction right, 3-0. So another pat in the back, fella. But listen, I think lots of Celtic supporters will be... I always say it's result dependent, but they'll be grinning from ear to ear, as they say tonight, and quite rightly too.
From where I was sat, there was somebody that was near me that was saying, I want this to go on for another 20 minutes, half an hour, because Celtic were purring. There's been so many times this season that Celtic haven't been purring, and it's very obvious in the way that they're playing, but they were all singing from that same hymn sheet this afternoon. I thought they were, to a man, they were tremendous, and they get better and better as the game went on. As I was saying, that 90-minute performance, that was as close to as I think it's been this season. Before we get in to talking about individual players and their heroics on the day, of which there are many. Should we do the sponsors and the special offer that we've got on just now? Because if we
Go on,
let it
fella.
go on too long, we'll go on about 30-40 minutes without mentioning it, and we do need to mention our sponsors who are always there. We're thrilled to have Weissman, who are a global leader in the boiler industry, known for their top-notch German engineering, sponsor our podcast. And what's more exciting, they've teamed up with Scotland's very own award-winning installation team, MPH Boilers, making this a perfect match right here in Scotland. Weissman's boilers are engineered to deliver not just warmth, but unparalleled efficiency and reliability. We're talking about cutting-edge technology that's designed to save you on energy bills and reduce emissions. And with MPH Boilers, you know you're getting service from the best in the business, a local team that's committed to excellence and customer satisfaction. As part of this incredible partnership, when you choose a Weissman boiler installed by MPH Boilers, you'll also get a free internet controller, making it a breeze to manage your heating anytime, anywhere. Plus, they're offering the first year's service free. It's all about giving you peace of mind and making sure that you're looked after. So if your boiler is showing its age or you're considering an upgrade, this is your chance to get world-class engineering with local expert service. Weissman and MPH Boilers, it's a match made in Scotland. Make sure to check them out and take the first step towards a warmer, more efficient home. And I did see that they were also one of the sponsors at Celtic Park as well. I did see their advertisements in and around Celtic Park. So if you do have a wee look out next time you're at Celtic Park, maybe next week against Rangers, you'll be able to see MPH. You see that they are very much legit and they're all over Celtic Park and on the Celtic Way podcast, which is great to see. I'm also going to bring up a special offer that we've got still running: 6 months of access for £1, plus a free Kyogo Furuhashi print from the double goal scorer today. Kyogo Furuhashi, made by Frankie, the renowned football artist that's worked with the Scottish FA as well as Manchester United and other leading companies in sport and sporting football teams. If you want to get that, then please visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. On there this evening, there is instant analysis from Tony as well as player ratings from myself. Spoiler alert, there is a lot of talk about Matt O'Reilly, and I think that is the perfect place to start, even though and I'm sorry to sort of take the hosting duties away from you from just a second, but I don't think we can go a minute longer without talking about how good Matt O'Reilly was. The midfield was good. I thought even Callum McGregor had a really good second half after a bit of a stop-start first half, but Matt O'Reilly today, I think, for me, that's his most complete performance in a Celtic shirt.
Are you
I don't know if that's...
surprised?
I'm
You
not
sound
surprised whatsoever, but
This
team
man's
rises
been
to the
a
top.
revelation since he came in day one. He's got that in his locker. And that assist today, if Andrew Pirlo did that, Kevin De Bruyne did that, they'd be showing it on a loop on Sky Sports. Every hour on the hour. It's not even just the actual pass, which is totally brilliant. It's the vision, Ryan. The minute he picks up the ball, Kyogo's on his bike and he sees that, and you've got a split second to see that, compute it, and execute the pass. But see, once he's executed the pass, he's just kind of stood back and went, "That's on the money." If there's an angle, you see him, he's looking and he's thinking, "Yep." I think he actually admires his own craft there, which is
Matt
great.
O'Reilly saw what he created, and it was quite
Yeah,
good sort of vibes.
Because what did he see? He saw it in pictures, Ryan. Football players, real players. This guy's gone to the top. I said in my instant analysis, of which there nearly wasn't, because I lost it at some point, but we got it back. That enjoy his nonchalance and elegance while you can. It's no wonder that Inter Milan and Atletico Madrid are interested, because, as you said today, you feel that's his most complete performance. And see if there's any doubt as to who the PFA Scotland Player of the Year is. I think that should convince you that this guy's a player, and he's capable of such wonderful things. And Kyogo has to apply the finish to that pass. So it's a superbly constructed, high-quality goal. It really is. Terrific.
Yeah, it definitely is. And he also, at the very start of the game, I think it's only about a minute in, Lauren Shankland has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what happens defensively with Celtic, but they looked really, really lackadaisical in the opening minutes. Shankland has a chance, maybe just inside the box. He side foots it.
Yeah.
Matt O'Reilly blocks it. It's a massive block. and it really does set the tone, because if Hearts go 1-0 up and their tails were up, Hearts' tails were up in those opening 20-25 minutes. I actually thought they were the better team in the opening, despite Celtic being ahead in the game. You know, if they go 1 goal up, they can just sit back, and it might be a difficult day at the office for Celtic. Matt O'Reilly makes that block and then allows his team to come forward. A few minutes later, it was 1-0 to Celtic. Massive moments like this that can have a massive bearing on the fate of this title race. I just think he stood up this afternoon and he was counted for. His interceptions in the middle of the park, I don't know how many times he dispossessed players, midfielders. He was a nuisance. His passing was on. His flicks to other players were brilliant. I just thought it was a masterful performance from just a guy that's on top of his game at the right time for Celtic.
And see, when people have said he's not been playing particularly well, he's still been doing that. Still been getting in, blocks and interceptions and stuff like that. And, maybe his distribution hasn't been on point in certain games, but he's still been doing a lot of the dirty work. And that's why I still feel this guy's a player, isn't he? He's a player. And you saw today, he enjoyed that today, didn't he? Because I think the manager told him to go out and enjoy the occasion. And we spoke about the atmosphere. The manager spoke about the atmosphere as well. He said the fans were terrific. And and he was asked that the atmosphere didn't tail off from first minute to the last. And he came away with that, yep, it didn't. And then he said, it can't wait for next week because Celtic Park will be on fire. I mean, it'll be twice the noise, 9 or 10 times the noise next week. But today was something special because it felt like a special game.
It was loud. It was very loud today. There was a bit of nerves in it as well. Even when Celtic were 2-0 up, I did hear a bit of trepidation in the crowd, but it seems as if the crowd got a hold of themselves in the second half and were like, right, we need to roar this team on to 3 points. They need the backing. And they answered the call. They answered the call from the players. There was a great moment in the second half where both Cal McGregor and Rio Hatate make the gestures to the crowd to get it going, make it loud. And they replied. The fans just, they were there. They were that 12 man for Celtic. It felt as if Celtic did have 12 men on the park today, which was absolutely brilliant to see. And they fed off it, because I thought some of Celtic's best stuff was played near enough the middle of the second half. You know, they really started to get into gear and do really good things on the ball. And they were feeding off of the crowd. They heard the atmosphere. They knew it was going to be a raucous atmosphere, and they fed off it, which was great to see. And it's going to be like that next week. It's going to be even louder next week.
Do you know what I also like? I love Matt O'Reilly's penalty. It's just like, yeah. It's just like, there you go.
I think there's a separate debate to be had as to why he hasn't been taking penalties earlier on. I mean, were Palmer's penalties so that good in training?
It was just so classy and so elegant, and just like, it's what I do. Shrug of the shoulders, stuff, put the ball down, bang. Totally different penalty for the one he took at Ibrox, because I think people may be expecting another dink. Maybe the goalkeeper expected it as well, but he was getting nowhere near that. Side netting, no chance. Minimum. That's what I was saying.
As Matt O'Reilly was stepping up to take the penalty, I was like, the one place he can't put this is down the middle, because of what he did to Jack Butland at Ibrox. He had to pick a side, and my goodness, he did. He put it in the position where Xander Clark had a good game today for Hearts, a couple of really, really good saves. Admittedly, he probably kept the score down, especially with that flurry that Celtic had in the second half, where they were really, really beginning to turn it on. There was a chance that I think they had 2 or 3 shots in quick succession, and Clark got to 2 of them, and then one went out for a corner or something like that. But he had a good game, but he could do absolutely nothing about the 3 goals that he faced today. You know, those 3 chances were unsavable, and the penalty was probably the pick of the bunch, because it's the most cleanest of finishes. He puts it in an area that the goalkeeper just cannot reach.
No goalkeeper saving that. So, and and he just kind of, it was, it rounded off a perfect performance, didn't it? Well, it certainly did for you. I know one of the commenters is saying didn't think Matt O'Reilly was at his best today. Fine, it's all about opinions. But hey, I don't know what Matt O'Reilly.
You've got a treat when you watch. You've got a treat when you watch the game back once again. That man was imperious. He was everywhere.
I think it's Frank Kennedy. Frank, you're entitled to your opinion. If you want to come back in and tell us why you thought Matt O'Reilly wasn't his best today, then we're all ears and all eyes. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, but my goodness, that was an imperious midfield masterclass today from Matt O'Reilly, and he is going to get better.
Yeah, there was a great tweet that or post, whatever you want to call it, that I quoted from, I think it was Chris Hamill, the popular Celtic fan that's on Twitter, and he was showing all the different
Yeah, the
statistics that
stats.
Matt O'Reilly. Yeah, he was pretty much number one in all of the key stats for Celtic in an attacking sense, apart from goals, obviously, because Kyogo got 2, but a goal and an assist. I don't know. For me, although I knew Kyogo was going to get the man of the match because he'd scored the 2 goals. He's back. You want to get your striker with the best bit of confidence. For me, it was Matt O'Reilly. He was the best player in the park. And this is coming from a guy who was raving about Rio Tati's performance. I thought he was good. He was very good. I just thought Matt O'Reilly was on a different level this afternoon, and he completely ran things in the middle of the park. I think he's blossoming into one hell of a football player. Unfortunately, I don't think the Celtic fans will see us and Celtic fans will see the best of him, because he will move on to pastures new. But he's going to be at a very, very high level. He's going to get to a very high level in his career. He's playing at one just now at Celtic at a really high level, but I think he's going straight to the top, or not. If not straight to the top, then he'll work his way to the top, because he's a model professional. He takes care of himself on and off the park, and today was just a showing of absolute brilliance.
Frank's coming back in and he says he's not saying Matt was poor. I never said he said he was poor. You said he didn't have his best game. I don't know what I mean. You just said, I was quoting your own comment. You said you've seen him play better. Can I ask when? Quando, Frank? When has Matt O'Reilly played better? I'm interested in the follow-up to that. He was outstanding today. He really was. He was outstanding. You cannot praise him highly enough. And it's like kind of the last throes of Jota, isn't it? You just say, enjoy him while you can. Enjoy him while he's here. Whatever happens, and we would love him to stay. We'd love him to work with Brendan Rodgers some more. But you see, the guy's got the football world at his feet, hasn't he? He really has. But I'm just enjoying watching him for however long that may be left, or if he stays next season, wonderful, absolutely brilliant. But I just love watching a footballer like Matt O'Reilly. So, and I have enjoyed watching him since day one. So it's I've been very much on that MOR bus ever since he turned up. So we've waxed lyrical about him many times on this, but I think today he stood up, didn't he? He wasn't the only one that stood up. I thought Callum McGregor was excellent too. He had a really good second half. And there wasn't a failure in the team today, which is why they got the result that they did.
Some players are better than others, and that is usually the case in these games. You can't always get 10 out of 10s from every single player. I thought Nicholas Kuhn didn't really take his opportunity this afternoon. It was more James Forrest on the other side, who, again, is playing like a player that's 10 years younger. Never mind a 32-year-old. He was playing like a 22-year-old this afternoon. I don't know if you caught my tweet, but Matt O'Reilly and James Forrest in the first half decided to pick on Lembikisa, number 81 for Hearts down that side. They were getting joy every single time they came up. There was a point where James Forrest just ran past him and Lembikisa just gave up. He just gave up chasing him. That's when you know that you've broke somebody. Maybe not mentally. I don't want to say they broke him mentally, but put that doubt in his head. I'm not going to get past this man today, or this man's just going to beat me at will whenever he wants. Now, Lembikisa had a good game on the reverse fixture at Tynecastle. I remember watching him, but my goodness, James Forrest absolutely terrorised him today. I thought he was tremendous from start to finish, and he without scoring, I thought he did everything else. He was just a constant menace. His runs were good. His defensive work was good too. He was winning interceptions. I just thought the team as a whole, their defensive maturity today was absolutely immense. And it needs to be for next week, because Rangers will go all out to attack if they can do that.
Do you agree with that?
I think he'll start. I think he'll play on the right. I don't think Kuhn will play. I think Maeda will play on the left and Forrest on the right.
I would drop Kuhn and I would play Maeda and Kuhn, yeah, exactly. That's my thoughts. I'm not too sure Thomas that will happen. I think Forrest will start. Maeda will start as well, and I think Kuhn will be the one to miss out, because of the players that were weaker today, I thought Kuhn was a weak link in that team today. But the rest they were at it, weren't they? Even the substitutes when they came on, Maeda and Adamida were at it as well, making an impact too. So
Maeda looked very bright. So did Adamida. But Maeda got the loudest cheer this afternoon at Celtic Park when he came back. It's incredible that, because, you know, I feel like his legend and his sort of reputation has only grown since this miraculous comeback, like Lazarus in the tomb. Honestly, he has came back and he is ready for the title running. He is an absolute anomaly of a player. He just doesn't follow trends. He doesn't. You look at him differently. He's such a weird player to talk about, because yes, he can be lacking in technical ability at times, but what you can never say he doesn't put in at least 100%. I know you can't get more than 100%, but if you could, Maeda would probably reach those numbers. He's that sort of player. I thought he looked really bright when he came on, and he looks as if he's going to be ready for next week. Even if he can only do 60 minutes, that's fine. Absolutely, get him geared up for the cup final. Nurse him back into the first team. He's going to be a massive player between now and the end of the season, you would reckon?
Yeah, 400 people joining us. Thanks very much, guys. Appreciate your company on a Saturday night. But it's always good to talk about Celtic when they won a football match. But just feel that a significant stride was taken today in terms of retention of the Scottish Premiership title. It's not done and dusted. Move 6 points clear of Rangers. We play Kilmarnock tomorrow at Ibrox. You can sit back and watch that unfold, relax and calm in the knowledge that Celtic have done their bit, Ryan, and then obviously Rangers come to Celtic Park next weekend. But I think there's everybody's going to be up for that, Ryan, isn't it? No matter what happens tomorrow, set fact, doesn't really care what happens tomorrow. Celtic have just got a job to do now, haven't they? And they look hungry, and they look like they mean business. And the manager spoke about trophy heads and business heads and all that kind of stuff. This is when the prizes are handed out. May, importance of the month of May. Celtic certainly grasped it.
Now we can talk about that game officially, because Celtic have dealt with Hearts and dealt with them quite. Yeah, as the next one. It'll be very interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Depends really what Rangers turn up, because there's been two sides to Rangers as well as two sides to Celtic this season. That's why it's still close between the two teams, because they've got a hiccup in them, but they've also got a good performance in them too. Decimated by injuries recently. I don't think they'll get all the players back for the game against Celtic next week. Kilmarnock's a tough test. It's a bit of a free hit for them as well, because Kilmarnock know that they've got European football next season. That it's all but certain with the results. A great job has been done by Derek McInnes this season, but you never know. All the pressure, there is no pressure on Kilmarnock tomorrow. All the pressure is now on Rangers to get a result and to keep themselves in the title race. They need to win, because if Celtic have a chance to win the league next week officially at Celtic Park, then you put your money at the moment on this Celtic side, with the way that they were purring this afternoon to go and do that and finish the job and finish the story that started this season. It'll be interesting. I will watch tomorrow's game with a keen interest to see how it transpires. But I think we'll be watching it relaxing a bit, knowing that Celtic got the business done just under 24 hours prior.
Yeah, and I think everybody spoke about purring about that performance. I think lots of things came together today, didn't they? And you saw a team playing for a manager, playing for each other, playing for the supporters, and that whole kind of what we predicted, really, that kind of loving happening, and something special happened today. Celtic produced a champions elect performance, Ryan, if you want to call it that.
That's a big one. That's a big. Yeah, it was. It was. We wanted them. I think today it had to be 3 points, but it also had to be a performance to work as a bit of a preview into the Rangers game, a bit of a taster, a dress rehearsal, whatever you want to call it. Revenge was also on the cards with the way that Hearts were playing against Celtic earlier on this season, and the results that they got, particularly in the last two games that we've faced them, that Celtic have faced them. They managed to exact that. I think with 3-0, it takes them round about level, or maybe one goal ahead in terms of the aggregate score. So that's something else that we can probably talk about too. But yeah, it's just that it was a sweet win today, a very sweet win for Celtic, and I needed one, but the performance was there too. I think I'm more happy about the performance than the win, and I'm delighted about the win, but the performance showed, and it was a bit of a taster of what Celtic could be next season, especially with some improvements made. I know that some
Quality
players will leave in
sprinkled in.
this team, but if you can bring a couple more pieces of quality and a few more chess pieces that will really add to this team, then who knows where Celtic can go under Brendan Rodgers. We've seen that the football can be good. You know, it's a myth that Rodgers' football's inferior to Ange Postecoglou's, because it can be good. Today showed, you know, that one touch play, the deadly finishing. If Kyogo gets the ball first time, then you know, good things can happen in that box. I just think it's an exciting time to be covering Celtic and watching Celtic at the moment, even more so in the summer. I think they will strengthen, especially if they do win the league. With that 60 million that could be coming in, I don't think they'll make the same mistakes that they did last season.
No, I wouldn't imagine so, but we shall see. But 6 points ahead, goal difference of 8. It's not a bad position to be in with 3 games for Celtic to play, 4 for Rangers. They play tomorrow, obviously, Kilmarnock at Ibrox. We watch with interest, but that's the thing, we can watch with interest and not care, because there'll still be that gap until they come calling to Glasgow's East End next weekend. But no, lots of stuff today was particularly pleasing. I've only seen it once in real time, so I'm going to have to go back and watch the highlights and pick out various things. But you mentioned Joe Hart's save, excellent save that it was, and you know he played his part when called upon. Liam Scales looked more like his usual self today, didn't he?
Yeah, it was a 50-50 one with Scales, to be honest. I thought he was fine defensively, but again, I think some of his distribution leaves a lot to be desired, especially when passing it to his more forward-thinking players in the midfield and on the wings as well. If you can get the ball to them, sometimes you'll bring the ball out 20, 30, 40 yards and then make a slack pass, and all of a sudden Celtic are under a bit of pressure on the counter-attack when he's out of position, and there could be a potential counter for the opposition team. But on the whole, I thought his defending was good. He never shucks away from a header or a tackle. I think he bleeds Celtic, to be honest. He seems to be very, very happy with where he's at the moment, and he'll be delighted that he celebrated his new 4-year deal with a clean sheet too.
Yeah.
These defenders, as much as they like scoring from corners, etc., their bread and butter. Plus, Joe Hart will be delighted that they managed to keep Hearts out, a team that have scored five goals against Celtic this season already. The fact that they shut them out in the final meeting between the two will be particularly sweet to those that have been involved, especially in the defeats earlier on.
Indeed. Now, going to flick this up. Ryan from Alexander Bigray. Thank you, the Celtic Way, for all the updates. You guys are the best. That's very kind, Alexander.
Thank you very much,
for tuning in. Appreciate that. Alexander, alongside 450 people, are tuning in right now. So we thank you for your time, and get your comments filed, and we'll try and read it.
Can I just bring up a comment, please? Yeah. I'm not now, Andrew. Just in response, I'm not comparing them. I'm not saying they're the same. They're not the same. I think there are some subtle differences, including the fact that, you know, players like Liam Scales, Cameron Carter-Vickers, they're allowed to pass the ball back, whereas under the previous manager, it was a cardinal sin to pass the ball back. As much as many will groan about the ball going back, at least the ball is staying in Celtic's possession. I'm just saying that the football can be good under Brendan Rodgers, and it's a bit of a myth that's started. I seem to remember what some of the best football Celtic have ever played in my life was under Brendan Rodgers, especially in that first season in 2016-17 with Stuart Armstrong, Scott Sinclair, Moussa Dembele. The list goes on. Brendan Rodgers hasn't become a bad manager overnight. His football can be really, really pleasing on the eye. A lot of people seem to remember the 2017-18 season and the 18-19 season where it was a bit, you know, lackluster in some of the performances. Yes, they got the job done in both of those seasons, but the football and the performances sometimes weren't there. Brendan Rodgers' football can be a great thing. It's just all about letting it click and allowing it to click, and it hasn't clicked for a lot of this season. But today was one of those moments where I felt like it was clicking, and it was a joy to see all the players playing for each other and playing in a system that clearly suits them.
Yeah, comparisons are going to happen all the time, but we live in the here and now. The Ange era has come and gone. We enjoyed it to the full. We welcomed Brendan Rodgers back. Well, yourself and myself certainly did. Lots of people weren't on board with it. But I think today we'll have done a lot to convince the doubters that when it clicks, Brendan Rodgers can get it right and produce a brand of football that's stylish and it's slick. There's a tempo, there's a pace, and it's enjoyable to watch. And yes, it hasn't been like that for the majority of the season, but it's coming together at a critical time, a crucial juncture in the season for Celtic. And if they can see it over the line playing like that, then it will give you, as you say, a kind of precursor to what might happen next season with a sprinkling of quality and added to that ranks. So you're just hoping that they can now turn it on for the next 3 games as well and play the way they did against Hearts. There's no reason why they can't. There's a bar being set now, and I think Brendan Rodgers will say to them, that's the level. That's the levels that you need to, keep hitting and then surpassing if you want to be a good football team. And today they look like a good football team. So you have to give credit
It
when
looked
it's due.
cohesive today.
Yeah, they haven't on many occasions this season, and they've been rightfully, criticised for that. But I don't think there's any form of criticism today from that Celtic performance. Thought it was excellent from start to finish.
Yep, me too. Apart from the sort of slow start that Celtic had, I thought they were in control for large parts of the game. They kept Lawrence Shankland very, very quiet. Who, if I'm being perfectly honest, and you're okay to talk about this because you've won the game, the team have won the game. I thought was incredibly lucky to stay on the park for 2 instances. One being, it could have been an elbow on, I can't remember exactly who it was, but it was a yellow card for Shankland. I think about 10 or so minutes later, he brings down a player with what looked like a professional foul just outside the box. I thought that was a yellow card in the rules of the game.
Yep.
Then, in the second half, which I cannot believe that this handball incident went to VAR. That is the most clear-cut handball you're probably ever going to see. Yeah, Lawrence Shankland, it's practically a save from Shankland. It should be a second yellow for me. I thought he was incredibly lucky to stay on the park, but to be honest, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference because he was completely stifled. It seemed as if that yellow card, when he picked it up in the first half, totally neutralised him. It kept him really, really quiet for the remainder. I think he only had one shot that went flying up into the upper tier of the stands. So he was very, very quiet. And that's the way. If you stop Shankland, you stop Hearts, and Celtic did that today because they nullified him completely. And I thought they kept him very, very quiet. Definitely a good player on the ball. He was coming in deep to get the ball in the early proceedings, but he was really quiet for like the last 60, 70 minutes of the game. And that's how you beat Hearts. You cut them off at the source. That's their main source of goals, and Celtic did that.
I agree that Shankland was lucky to stay in the park. I'm not an advocate of getting players sent off, but I thought his first one he was very lucky. I think it was on Kyogo, wasn't it? And he kind of caught him with a flailing elbow or a flailing arm, let's just say. I thought he was lucky then. And as you say, he pulled someone down, and I thought he was
at the edge of the box.
No, it was the edge of the box, exactly. And then obviously the handball compounds it, but maybe Kevin Clancy just took pity on him and realised he couldn't affect the outcome of the game because Celtic were so far ahead at that point. So, but I mean, there's no accounting for not applying the rules. The rules state that you should probably have walked, because that's three yellow card offences, Ryan. Basically,
for me, anyway, I thought it was a yellow card, a second yellow card. The first one's dubious on whether it's a yellow card or a red card. Don't know if he meant it. Don't know if there was intent. Don't know if it was dangerous or reckless, or whatever they want to call it. Listen, it didn't really make a massive difference in the game whether he stayed on the park or not. If it was 10 men, Hearts would have just sat back and it would have been damage limitation. It might have actually been a negative if they get Shankland taken off, but he was very, very quiet after about the 25th minute. After he got booked, he was very quiet for the duration of the game, and that's just the way we like it, to be honest, because the quieter Shankland is, the less joy he's getting.
Yeah, of course. But as I say, we are just kind of poring over the various incidents in the game, which is fair enough. But I was just delighted with a lot of what Celtic produced today. A lot of the football was crisp, it was clean, it was fast, and I think that delighted the manager more than anything. He said that his big game players performed in a big game, and it's not something that you've levelled at Celtic too often this season. But I couldn't agree with him more.
No, I know. I was just delighted with the way that things went as a whole today. Cannot complain. From first minute to 90, they got the job done, and we move 3 points closer. It's definitely a good place to be.
Yeah, Maestro 95 asking about this. I think there was a shove. What about the free kick Celtic got at the end of the first half? Forrest colliding with Hatate. The
Was
Hearts player actually shoved him.
was it
Forrest into
Lembikisa?
Hatate, yeah, and it was right in front of Clancy, which is why he saw it. Because it did look like the two of them had kind of collided with each other, but there was a wee kind of push that way as Forrest kind of went by him at pace, and he just kind of put his arm on him, so Forrest just kind of crashed into Hatate. But at first glance, it looked like they collided, but there was a wee shove.
I was wondering why they were given a foul because it was a collision between two Celtic players. Then I realised somebody pointed out to me very kindly that Lembikisa
Yeah,
had
yeah, pushed
pushed
him.
one of the players into the other. Was it Forrest into Hatate? They
Yeah,
were saying.
Forrest into Hatate.
Um,
Yeah, so
that was probably the closest Lembikisa got to Forrest on the day, if we're being perfectly honest.
yeah,
Not to sort of encourage a pile on the young fullback, but he did have a complete nightmare against Forrest today. I don't know if he'll be having nightmares about Forrest. I don't want to go down that sort of route, but he'll definitely have food for thought on the next time the two face off.
and also as well, we picked up on it yesterday, but Celtic applied the scoreboard pressure, as the manager put it. Ryan, they did their job, and then some. So it was. I was pleased with that. I just kind of like that phrase, scoreboard pressure, points on the board, and all that.
Absolutely, it feels like a wee while since Celtic last played first in a weekend. It probably isn't as long as what we think, but it feels like ages ago since Celtic played at home when it was 2-3 weeks ago. Good thing is
Yeah,
I've got another home game to look forward to, and then another one after that. 3 weekends in a row, Celtic will be at home. Hopefully the last game of the season will also be Trophy Day, in which Celtic get their title. They've got that small matter of going to Rugby Park in between and that final weekday game, but they know the path that they need to go on now. They know what they need to do. One more win should probably seal the title, not mathematically, but in terms of the points differential, because the goal difference will be, I think the goal difference is 8 just now, I believe.
yeah, 8.
That's like an extra point at this point in time because it was close between the two sides. I know that Rangers are still to play tomorrow. They might score a few, they might not. They might concede. You never know. You just don't know with this Rangers side as much as you don't know with the Celtic side. That's the way this season's went. Those 8 points just now anyway feel like an extra point. It feels as if Celtic are 7 points rather than 6. So all the pressure is on Rangers tomorrow. Let's see if they can handle that because Celtic certainly did today. There was pressure going into this game. Hearts were worthy adversaries, but in the end they were no match for Celtic's magic midfield, to be honest.
Yeah, without a doubt. I just thought they handled the occasion well. There was no nerves, no sign of nerves. You said kind of maybe the start wasn't particularly great, but they certainly recovered from that. And yeah, once they got their noses in front, I just didn't think that Celtic were going to relinquish that lead, Ryan. I have to be honest. And they were, 1-0 up in 4 minutes?
Yeah, just it felt like a really rough start too, and then you realise that they'd scored within 4 minutes. Must have been like a bad minute or 2 minutes. I can deal with that if Celtic are scoring after 4 minutes. Talk about putting down the gauntlet early doors to Hearts, saying, right, you've started well, but we're still too strong for you, and we will go and score goals. Celtic were 2-0 up, and Hearts were arguably the better team. But even though Celtic were 2 goals up in terms of their overall play, it's just moments of
Yeah,
brilliance. We've talked about Celtic being a moments team this season, but it seems as if the moments that they had then spiraled into a full performance. That 2 goal advantage really spurred them on to show what they had, to start strutting their stuff. It's when those 1-2s start going, the cross balls that are meeting their target, when the midfield is connected, that's when you know that Celtic are purring. And when when Hearts are making unforced errors, they're putting out the ball out for corners, they're missing their targets, and it's going out for a throw in. That's when you know they're under the caution, they're feeling it. They made it uncomfortable for Hearts today, and Celtic got what they deserved with their 3 goals, in which it probably could and should have been more.
I also like Kyogo's first goal for the fact that he came alive when that second phase of play, and Hatate was really clever, just lofting it back into that danger area where he hoped Kyogo would be. Not so sure that he picked him out, but it was still an intelligent kind of ball back into the 6-yard box in the hope that somebody gets on the end of it rather than have a winder at goal, which could have ended up in the stand. Or but he kept that phase of play alive after Managerial's initial corner kick and put it in an area where if somebody contests it, they have every chance of scoring. And Kyogo's always alive, isn't he? That's meat and drink to him. That's where he does come alive. That's where he, your predator in that 6-yard box, isn't he? So great header as well. And there was a wee dubiety about him being offside. But
Shankland was on the line.
I think it was. They thought he was behind the goalkeeper. They were talking about. But I was just like, well, So that was the kind of excuse they were giving it for, possibly, because they did draw the lines. They showed you a still. He's on side. So, but hey,
yeah, I need to see that. But it's always an added relief when the VAR check is over and the goal is given. It's almost like a second celebration that you have once they've already scored the first, then the confirmation you get the second. I suppose that's some twisted way of being for VAR. I know people will think that's the opposite, but I was delighted to see that goal stood. And I think the ball. I think that as much as we've talked about the ball from Matt O'Reilly, the ball from Hatate is really good too. It came out to him, and I thought he was going to take a shot like he did against Rangers in that infamous 2nd of February game of 2022. But he takes his time. You've got to remember his passing was quite bad at that point for the first 5-10 minutes. His passing was quite off. Tati was finding his range, but he still managed to pick out Kyogo, and it's a great header. And then that ball from Matt O'Reilly for the second goal was just absolutely sublime. But expected from a player that's full of sublime moments.
Yeah, correct. And I from that moment on, from the moment Celtic went ahead, I felt good about the day. Felt good about the day when I woke up. Thought Celtic would win. We predicted 3-0, but that was a good performance. I thought it was a commanding performance, a dominant performance, and it was a performance that warmed the Celtic supporters' hearts, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It was a galvanisation. Yeah, I've used the word galvanise. It took me 43 minutes this time in order to say it, but it galvanised everybody. It felt really, really good being in that stadium. It felt like everybody was together as one, from the supporters in the stands to the players to the manager. There was a lot of supporters that stayed at the end at the final whistle too to applaud the manager and applaud the players. Joe Hart was giving it big licks as he has been doing. I think he's enjoying this final crusade that he's got, and I think the rest of the players, as you said, everybody wants to win it for Joe Hart. They want to finish off his career. If he can win a double, then it's a tremendous way to finish what has been a sensational career from, he was England's number one at a stage, played for Man City, but I think he'll look back and his Celtic career has been a real bonus and what has been a great career for him.
Going to address this. Andrew, you're talking to a teetotaler, mate. There's my drink of choice. Rudy Water. Ryan will confirm that, won't you, Ryan?
Absolutely. Yes, I can VAR check that and confirm that. The goal stands. Tony is a teetotaler. Teetotal Tony. We've had TikTok Tony. Teetotal Tony.
Yeah, so maybe it's just the fact that there's a big light shining in my face right now, so lighting it up like a Belisha beacon. But hey, I don't drink at all, sir. So there you go. So no snifter for me. But hey, hard work. If other people want to do it, deserves a wee swally, then that's their prerogative. But hey, I'm not a drinker. But there you go. I've had drinks in the past. Let's put it that way. So all good. Yes, indeed. Costa, Rebel Double X saying Costa, Tony. There you go. So, Ed Meister asked me, when did you give up a drink? A while ago. I got it out my system as a student. But there you have it. But yeah, I was just, we're just talking about the kind of the way that Celtic performed today, Ryan, and just, I think that's what you had scripted in your head would happen this weekend, and Celtic executed that game plan perfectly, didn't they?
Yep, absolutely. They executed everything perfectly. Lots of pressure from external factors from the league as a whole going into this game about will Celtic turn up? What Celtic will turn up?
Yeah.
But the real Celtic stood up and they turned up, and it was great to see. It was a really, really enjoyable afternoon at Celtic Park, I must admit, and hopefully that can be matched or even bettered by the time that Celtic play Rangers next week. This time next week, we'll know exactly or have a good idea of where the title will be heading, or if it will be very tight in the last two games of the season. It's up to Celtic to nip that in the bud and make it a non-event. I want it to be as uneventful as possible. I want Celtic to get this over with, get this title over with. They've had a bit of a fright that from about November to about January, February, March time, January, February, and then into March, there was a fright, but they're back in business, and you're hoping that they're rising up to a crescendo next Saturday against Rangers.
Exactly.
Rangers are still to play tomorrow. It's up to them to keep the pressure, or not to keep the pressure on Celtic, because I don't think there is that much pressure on Celtic at the moment. I think all the pressure is on Rangers. It's up to them to stay in the title race tomorrow. The only way they can do that is with a win. Yeah, I'm just looking forward to seeing how everything unfolds from tomorrow to the week ahead. The team looks in good nick. All the players are coming back. This clean bill of health that Brendan Rodgers has spoke about. Maybe not clean as in Callum McGregor's full fitness. He's not 100% there yet, but there's enough players in there to drag him through. If he's only get 60 minutes next week, that's absolutely fine. Do your 60 minutes, then Awata can come on. Was quietly impressed by the way he went about his business.
Yeah.
Today as well. I just think he's calm. He's very calm on the ball. He was trying a couple of forward passes. I was like, just stay in your lane, Tomoki. You are the calm man. You calm things down. You don't need to be making these Hatate-esque passes. You just stick to being a Wata, and that's pretty much good for me.
Brian McCabe coming in. Hardest working channel on YouTube. Well done, Ryan and Tony. Oh, I Hamish as well. That's very kind, Brian. Really appreciate that. And 470 people joining us as well. Andrew Taggart come back in and said he's only saying he's my biggest fan. Thank you for that, Andrew. That's really kind. He's a teetotaler as well, and he used to love reading my stuff in a tabloid newspaper, which I formerly wrote for. Ryan, there you go. Thanks for that, Andrew. Very kind. No, I wasn't having a go. I was just having a laugh about that because I don't drink, so there you have it. But people have them. Mullen coming in and saying, Tony and Ryan loving every bit of Celtic winning the game. We certainly did. Kaiser predicted 3-0. Yep, so did we as well. And Graham Caldwell. There you go. You're going to flick one up there. Sorry, Ryan, when you go.
What I was going to say is that European football seems to be heading St Mirren's way as well after that big win over Dundee this afternoon. So congrats to Graham Caldwell and his team. It looks as if they'll be getting a European trip, which is great to see for them. They've been very good this season, flying high at the start of the season, maybe tailed off a bit, but Stephen Robinson's definitely doing a good job at St Mirren, and they will enjoy their European escapades next season.
They've had a wonderful season, Graham, and say congratulations to that. Graham, St Mirren man who comes on here and lets us know his thoughts, as you saw with his comment there. But he's very knowledgeable about his football and very passionate about his team as well. So you have to congratulate success there as well. So well done, Graham, to you guys for beating Dundee today convincingly and securing European football. I'm sure you'll be signing up for that, whatever trip you get. I hope it's a good one, sir. So take it easy. Graham Caldwell, cheers, Tony and Ryan. Yep, top man. Thanks for that, Graham. And we'll maybe see you at some point. And there you go. But yeah, Seamus McKenna coming in saying he predicted 3-0 as well. There was a few people that predicted 3-0 and others said that Kyogo would score 2 as well. I remember that on the pre-match, Ryan. So lots of people getting it right today are calling it bang on.
Yeah, that's great to see. I think all of us would have been happy with a win. A bonus would be a clean sheet, and a bonus would be like Kyogo being on the score sheet. You know, you if you could pick or choose players to score, you want Kyogo to get back in the scoring habit, especially for Rangers, a team that he's scored for fun against over this past year and a bit. So
First
the
time he
fact
scored twice this season, Ryan.
is it?
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm just hoping that Brendan Rodgers can get the best out of him next season, because the Kyogo that we've seen today, that's what I want to see. Not a lot of touches, admittedly, but it was the killer touch when required. And I just think his first finish or his second finish, it's a great ball from Matt O'Reilly. But Kyogo's finish is just so cultured, and he
Yeah.
places it in a spot that Xander Clark cannot get to. He was saving everything else. Xander Clark, he couldn't get anywhere near that. He knew what was happening. The ball was going over Kyogo's head. He knew he had to touch it, and he did, and he put it in the back of the net. Great to see it. He was enjoying it as well. He was really geeing up the crowd and wanting them to make noise. And the
Just
crowd
checked
absolutely
that there.
adore him.
It is, yeah. First time he scored twice this season. Yeah, you wouldn't.
That's quite an incredible stat, to be honest. I think if he'd in a few of the one goal games that he could have scored two, if he had that, he'd be nearer the top of the goal scoring charts. But
Yeah.
there's always next season. It's good to give other people a chance before getting back to his best. Probably next season, you would hope and reckon.
There's always next week, Ryan. That's more to the point, isn't it?
Well, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah,
the
and
wee man
it's
coming
against
to the boil again.
it's
You know,
against
so
an opponent that he knows how to he knows how to score against Hearts. He's done that pretty frequently over his 3 years at the club. This past year or so, he's been doing the same against Rangers. Who has he had in the last two games? Hearts and then Rangers. It's up to him to just stick to the status quo or the status quo, and
stick
just
to the
do what he
script.
does best.
Stick to the script. Right, that's just over 50 minutes, 52 and a bit minutes. You get anything else you want to add, Ryan? Are you just desperate to get home and watch it all over again? And
I want to
because
actually watch the highlights. Yeah, I do actually want
yeah,
to watch the highlights. I just thought, I'm trying to think if we've missed out on anybody that's came on to. In fact, yes, we have missed out on one person, and I do want to
go on
talk
then.
about him. I thought he was really bright when he came on the park today. I have been criticising him a lot recently for his performances, especially off of the bench. But I thought he put in a couple of really decent balls today, and there was a good moment in particular where he beat his man with a flick over the top. That was a return to the old Lewis Palmer that we've seen in October and November. That was a much better performance from Palmer. He looked as if he didn't have as much pressure on him as well, coming onto a game where Celtic had all but secured the 3 points. You know, they didn't have the 3 goals when he came onto the park, but that came shortly after. I thought Palmer was a lot better when he came on. It shows that he can be an option from now until the end of the season. He could be one of these players that comes up trumps in the latter stages of the campaign. I do think he needs a pre-season to just recharge the batteries and get himself fully focused again for the new season. Going to America will help that. You know, the fact that he is from Central America, South America, being in that part of the world, part of the world that he's more familiar with, will help him in the pre-season tour. I just hope that he can contribute from now until the end of the season, because there is a player there. He's got loads of talent. He just needs to put it all together.
He got the team memo today, though. He came on and played like a team player, I thought, today. So
Yep.
that was one thing that I did notice. We have been a bit, I say, maybe harsh and hard on Palmer, but for good reason. But
we've been hard on him, but it's been justified because his performances haven't been up to scratch.
Correct, without a doubt. Andrew Taggart coming back in. Cheers, guys. Great pod as always. Catches on Monday morning. So hail Tony Ryan Hamish. That's very kind, Andrew. Take care, fella. Yeah, I think that's just 1 minute short of 55 minutes, Ryan. I think it's a satisfactory job well done by Celtic today. I think it all clicked into gear, clicked into place. Same again next week, Ryan. That's all we ask.
Sounds good to me. Yeah, same again. Same scoreline would do me as well. Yep, same time or round about the same. In fact, no, it's not the same time. It's 12:30. You know, you're better quitting while you're ahead with these sort of outros, aren't you? Yeah. This time next week, we'll know exactly what Celtic are facing in terms of if it's going to be essentially a procession from now until the end of the season, or it's going to be tight. It's up to Celtic to really put that pressure on. See what happens tomorrow. maybe a bonus can happen in the form of Kilmarnock picking up a couple of points, 1 point or 3, but all eyes are on next week already, or all eyes are on next week in the Celtic equation of things. That's what they're focusing on, and let's hope that they can do the business.
Indeed. We'll give the final word to Peter Murphy from Gibraltar. Winning mentality, that's what Celtic have got. I think they showed that today. And yeah, they showed it big time, didn't they, Ryan?
They did. They've got the winning mentality, they've got a winning manager, winning team, winning players. Let's just hope that they can be winning things at the end of the season.
Correct.
In the form of silverware.
And with that, guys, we'll say thanks very much for tuning in. We'll see you on Monday. Myself, Ryan and Hamish will be live at 10-ish to dissect it all again and look forward to the big derby coming up at the end of the week or the weekend. Saturday. Can't come quick enough. Celtic 3, Hearts 0. Celtic 6 point clear. For how many hours? We will find out tomorrow. Ryan, take care. Thank you for your contribution. As always, thank you everybody to come into the comment section. Appreciate you guys as well. We shall see you all on Monday.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.